Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you can follow along as we build products in public. Each week we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedikt and I'm feeling motivated.
I'm Benedicte. Today is September 13. This is episode number 152, and I am feeling unfocused. See, right there, couldn't even get the intro right.
But we're back. Like, we took a long break.
We did. And why?
Because I took a vacation and then extended it by 2 more weeks.
I got a little worried, but also I got very proud that you took a proper vacation.
Yeah, like, I don't know. This year's been weird. We've been meaning to take a long vacation, actually go somewhere and I don't know, go to a nice beach and not do anything for a couple of weeks. And for a couple of reasons that I won't get into, we didn't manage to plan ahead and set a time and actually finalize everything. So the only thing I knew I was going to take was that first week and take that off. But that we take the following 2 weeks off was basically a very spontaneous decision, and therefore we didn't book anything, we didn't go anywhere, we just didn't work for 3 weeks, which is also nice.
So you had a staycation.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, we used the time to visit some family, so we visited my parents for a couple of days, and we visited my sister and her family, and I met my new niece. So we used the time for stuff like that, and also just doing some hiking in the neighborhood, and went to a car race for good fun and stuff like that. No big trip anywhere, but a little bit here and there.
I feel like that's a good thing to do if you manage to switch off, because I think a lot of the reason people want to take those kind of go away vacation, obviously you experience things in new places, but a lot of it is to not get sucked in by I should fix something in my house, or I could just open my laptop a little bit, do some work, or all of those things in your regular surrounding kind of pulling you in. But if you manage to set that aside and actually do vacation-y things while at home, or taking little trips to family and stuff, it's still a good you still get that vacation feeling if you manage to do that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the only thing that I would have liked was not do any of the housework, no cooking, no cleaning. That's the upside of going someplace else where they where everything's covered for you more or less, or you go just dine out every day. That would have been nice as well, but honestly, in the end, it was okay. It wasn't too bad.
But also, I feel like we could thinking about having a mix of types of vacation, because it just makes it more attainable too. Because you could stay home a week and do really cool things and still spend a lot less money than if you went on a larger trip where you need to pay for kind of housing and all of those things. So you could. Yeah. In theory, just budget for takeout the whole week if you want to really get that vacation feeling, because it's going to be cheaper than booking an Airbnb anywhere.
For sure. And that, I mean, that's what we did. We ordered more food than usual, and we went to dine out more than usual. So, and and then obviously visiting family, which also kind of is dining out, I guess.
I guess that depends on the family and how much work you're expected to do as part of that and the family.
So yeah, overall it was a nice time away from work, and I actually managed to not do a lot of work. I think I spent an hour every week just going through my email inbox and cleaning things up and maybe replying to a thing here or there. It's not it was super necessary in terms of something was on fire, but I just wanted to do it. So the Monday, yesterday when I got back to work, wasn't as overwhelming as it would have been if I hadn't done this.
So you're saying
my email inbox was still manageable.
Kept working and chugging along without you?
Yeah, it did for the most part. just a little bit like small. I got some small pings for customer support here and there, but usually I think I never had to open my computer to fix anything or like investigate a problem or something like that. So everything else was kind of smooth. And then it was only last week when things suddenly started to pick up and there was a lot more customer support. But luckily that was my last week, so Michael did a good job of just delaying things a little bit and slowing things down a little bit. So when I got back to work yesterday, we basically tried to resolve as many of those as possible, so nothing's stuck for too long. So, but yeah, overall, I'm happy. Like everything worked well, and there wasn't a big issue, and nothing broke. I didn't have to do like emergency maintenance or stuff like that. So that's all good.
I think that's cool though, because that was one of the things that when we started, or I joined this podcast, that wasn't really possible for you, and now it is possible for you to take a 3 weeks vacation.
Yeah, like having someone as good as Michael on customer support definitely is a game changer in that regard, because his product knowledge is really good by now. Like sometimes he understands the things better than both Jane and me, and I'm the one who built most of it. So he's just like had a good mindset and was able to pick up the small nuances of how the product works pretty quickly, so he can handle a lot of the hard cases as well. So the stuff that's left is usually just actual bugs or stuff that requires me to fiddle in the database and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all good.
Cool.
It's also nice to see, and I have a feeling that it correlates with just that it's September. It's like, I feel like over the summer, like June, July, August, things slowed down a little bit in terms of new signups, revenue growth. Customer support was a little bit slower. And I feel like last week things started to pick up again. It feels like everyone's back to work and trying out things, running into issues or whatever, like basically back to work. And that's nice to see and motivating that things will keep moving faster again, because it felt a little bit slow over the last couple of months, which is also a good thing, I guess.
I mean, there are some advantages to large part of the world taking a vacation at the same time, like the expectance, like response rate, expectancy, and just like the general slowness makes it easier to take a vacation. So next year, maybe do your vacation in, August, like beginning of August, like everyone else, or July.
Yeah, but the downside is like if you go somewhere, then it's usually the most expensive time. So
that is true. That is true. But yeah, but it is like I enjoy that summertime where everybody's kind of slowing down a little bit and just like enjoying the other parts of life more. And then now that we go into winter, not much to do outside. It was raining today. We can all get back to work. But other things, what's been happening at Userlist?
Yeah, so what's been happening? Leo has been continuing work on a message editor, and I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it's really coming together now. It's really looking good. Jane did a round of design feedback, and he's currently integrating most of that feedback or all of that feedback and like really polishing the design. And also like finally tackling some of the things we knew about but didn't want to spend too much time on in the early days. For example, we have support for like liquid tags to do like personalization and conditionals and stuff like that. And up until like Friday, I feel like it wasn't possible to properly copy paste those from the message editor elsewhere and back, because it would just lose like the curly braces and stuff like it around it. So last week he spent some time actually figuring out how do we customize the copy paste behavior of the editor to copy sensible stuff when you like hit the Command C shortcut, and it's small stuff like that that you tend to forget when just implementing these things, but people will run into those and it will be super annoying. So we wanted to make sure that we get that stuff right, and now it's working nicely. And yeah, basically fixing small things like this that are like quality of life, or like, well, I don't know, things that make sure the user is not annoyed while using it. So that's the stuff we're working on right now.
But then the question is, should you ship it with those annoyances and then fix them very fast and be like, look at us fixing your issues with the speed of light?
Yeah,
because otherwise people won't even notice that it's there, right?
Right. And that's like, that's one of the big questions, or like almost existential questions I kept asking myself during my vacation when thinking about work. Like, where's the balance between shipping quality stuff and shipping stuff fast, and like showing that there's progress versus shipping like solid stuff? And I don't know if I've got an answer. I know that I don't have an answer, that's for sure. Because I feel like, I think we are nearing like 3 months on this project, and I know that what we will put out is super polished, but was it too long? Like, did it take too long? Should we have like cut some corners and, as you said, like ship not as good product and then be super responsive in fixing everything? And I'm not sure. Like, I don't know.
I see it working for big companies, but it also annoys me sometimes, where it's like, you could have had a Q&A process here. Like, especially the big companies, it's like, how many people are you? Did nobody try to copy paste into this field? And you're like, but then they make it into a marketing thing. And I'm like, maybe they're smart, because then you get an email and you're like, and then they're like, now you can even copy paste into this field. And you're like, yeah, I shouldn't. But then you're like, you get that message that like, we've improved, look at us improving and improving.
And listening to your feedback and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. And I think that's hard too, because I can see myself getting annoyed sometimes as a user, but I can also see that it's working, because the companies that I keep getting updates from, I feel, updates that are actual updates, they are more on top of mind. And I do feel like I have a closer relationship to them, even though they should have, made it better in the first place. So it kind of works. Yeah. So I find, but I've seen one, I think that was Brian Cassell who did, where in his newsletter, instead of kind of having that like what's new, he kind of just like highlighted features. So he got that same in his newsletter, he got that same feeling of like, look at this feature and look at that feature that felt like progress, but just the heading was highlighted feature instead of new feature. And it took me a while to actually notice that subtle difference, but it gave me as the consumer that same kind of feeling of, oh, there's updates and look, I've learned something new about the product. And yes, I think you should be proud of doing it correctly, but remember to then do, those highlighted feature things where it's like, you can copy paste and you can, so that people actually understand that this feature can do all these things and it didn't just happen, like actually showcase them as features.
Yeah, I guess that's a really good insight. And I still feel like we're doing a bad job at like just promoting what's already there. Like, it's easy to promote the new stuff because, I mean, that's the traditional cycle. You build stuff and then it's done and then you ship it and then you announce it and celebrate it. But then that's it. Like, usually the work ends after that. And then a month from then or half a year from then, you're not talking about that feature anymore. And it might still be news to some people, exactly as you said. Like, by just highlighting those features, some of those features will be news to some of your customers because they haven't just never seen it or never used it. And I really like that idea of just including it in the newsletter and having that highlighted features thing. I'm going to suggest that to the team, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the work we did on the message editor on the front end before my vacation. So it's already a couple of weeks ago. I did a lot of more work on the backend side of things. So I mentioned that I was rewriting the rendering engine to use the new document schema we came up with instead of Markdown. And that was done before my vacation. And then the last couple of days before I left, I actually spent some time trying to do validation on the new implementation. And I ended up just like connecting to the production database, reading all the broadcasts, all the campaign messages, like the raw HTML or the raw Markdown, rendering that to HTML, then using the new converter we wrote to convert the Markdown into the new document schema, and then rendering the document schema to HTML. And as I mentioned, like, it's hard to compare those two because they are not necessarily exactly the same HTML. So on top of that, I used basically Chrome and I don't know. The tool I'm using is a Ruby tool called Ferrum, which is basically hooking into Chrome and allowing you to save screenshots of an HTML page. So I ran both rendered HTML results through that and then compared the screenshots using ImageMagick. And if there wasn't a difference, I'd count them as a success. And if there was a difference, I'd count them as a mismatch. And that, like, initially, I think like about 40% of the emails had like mismatches, but I was able to get it down to like 4%. And now it's only like there's only one big thing that's causing issues, and that's basically Markdown's auto linking feature. So at least, well, it's not a Markdown feature per se, but our Markdown renderer has a feature where it auto links. So if you paste http://google.com, it will be clickable in the rendered email. And it sounds easy, but previously we had a rendering pipeline that would take the Markdown from the database, run Liquid on it first. So everything in terms of placeholders would be replaced. And then we took that and rendered it to HTML. And as a result, like if you had a link with some Liquid in there, for example, to set a user ID or the email address, Markdown wouldn't know about that because by the time it was using Markdown or the Markdown rendering process took over, it would already be a valid link because it already did the substitutions. The problem is with the new rendering pipeline, because we're not operating on text anymore, but like this tree structure in JSON, we had to flip things around. So we have to do HTML rendering before we do Liquid rendering. And as a result, we have invalid links because double curly braces in URLs aren't valid URLs anymore. And therefore, everything, like at least the naive auto-linking implementation that I started with, just doesn't work. So those 4% of cases are mostly related to that, and I'm hoping to solve this week. And the other handful of problems turned out to be actual rendering problems with our old renderer.
Nothing like a migration to smoke out the old errors.
Yeah, exactly. Like apparently the current Markdown renderer we're using has some problems with basically combining bold and italic Markdown syntax. So if you go crazy and do like a lot of things on and off in one sentence, it will lose track and then at some point just like have underscores and asterisks and whatever in your rendered output. And that's obviously not the thing you want. So I guess we're going to fix that by migrating to the new version. But it's interesting because I hadn't realized this until we now run a mass test comparing two rendered results. So yeah,
and now you can test. Now you have it set up, so whenever you do any changes to your renderer, you can now make sure that things are still working.
Yeah, exactly. And it was also interesting. Just I mean, we didn't include any user data, so I don't feel as bad as like looking at all of our customers' emails, or like, well, not in detail, but like just making sure they render correctly. And what was interesting was that I noticed some patterns, and we're actually thinking now to basically pull a large sample of like emails that people write and just like analyzing what are some industry patterns, at least what are some patterns across our user base of like what type of emails do they write, and how can we maybe improve the product to make that part easier, or if we can't come up with ideas, maybe even write about what are some good best practices and stuff like that. And yeah, that was an interesting insight that just happened by looking at a lot of rendered emails.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's been going on my side. Obviously, a lot of not working for the last couple of weeks, but excited to be back at it and getting some work done this week. What about you? What happened while I was away?
I mean, I should have done a million things, shouldn't I? But it feels like I've done nothing.
I'm sure you did a million things and forgot half of it.
Yes, and that's why these weekly catch-ups are so good, because I have to like write down some notes every week before we record, so I know kind of what to talk about. And I think that actually really helps. And I've noticed that before too, that I can like go into recording feeling a little like, like what am I doing? And like I'm not, I haven't done anything. That kind of like energy. And then after the talk, I'm like, oh, look at me getting things done. But I do feel, and I remember you talking about this a couple of episodes back, about where I feel like there's so much things that are up in the air and nothing, and I'm doing the work I'm supposed to do on them, but they're not like completed, and they won't be completed for a while. And I think that also like makes me, or lures me into doing things that I think I can complete. In a way, like, oh, I'll just like redesign the front page of my website a little bit because that's useful. But then like I feel like I can complete it, but of course I didn't. So that's also up in the air. So I need to just keep on like focusing and doing the work I'm supposed to do, and like staying to the strategy and like all of those things. But that's why I'm feeling a little unfocused, I guess, as well. But so what have I been doing? So let's start talking about what I've been doing, and I can feel good afterwards. No, so Lillian has had her first day of school, because I don't think we covered that, because it's been 4 weeks. So she's back in school, which is pretty cool, and she's really enjoying it. So we're all very happy about that. But on the work side, I've been working on the outline for my upcoming Gatsby talk. So I'm doing that Gatsby talk at Jamstack like we talked about, and then at the Modern Frontend Live in London. And together with the talk, I am working on the workshop that will be given at Modern Frontends in London as well. And then I'm also talking about a new line of creating a video course, or like an online course on the same topic. And I actually find that working on all three of these together is very motivating and helpful, because the talk isn't kind of standalone. So even though they're not going to be completely the same, they're covering the same topics, and I am managing to structure all three things kind of over the same list, we say in Norwegian, over the same. It's kind of the same outline. It will just be with like more or less detail, and it's helping me to keep focused, because I'm like, well, maybe I should just talk about the data layer, maybe I should, but like, it's pulling me back in. And it's like the talk is going to be about Gatsby plugin, and I feel like the message is like, go out and build your own plugin, both because it's fun, you learn a lot of things, and because it's useful. And then for the talk, it's going to be more motivating and like showing you what is possible. And then in the workshop, we'll probably make like all the examples that I'm giving in the talk. So it's kind of like really working to work on all of these together, even though I thought maybe it would be different, but it feels like in some way I'm getting more focused, even though I'm also unfocused. I don't know. But my question to you, though, I have a question that I need help on. And that is because I'm doing this workshop on how to create your own Gatsby plugins with that one conference. But at the Jamstack conf, it's only sponsored workshops. But I heard this tip before that you can arrange your own workshop in the city that the conference is in. So either the day before or after, I could like arrange my own workshop and have people just sign up for my workshop that have been at Jamstack Conf. So I'm like thinking if that is something I should try to arrange, and like how much.
Would you charge people for that?
Yes, I would. That would be the point. So the one I'm doing so all of Jamstack's conference, all of Jamstack Conf's workshops are free of charge, and they're kind of, at least what I can see, it looks like the sponsors are giving workshops. But for the modern front end in London, I'm doing a workshop, and it's a paid workshop, and then it's like a revenue share between the conference and me as a workshop holder. So that is why, since I will have to make that workshop and do it in London the week after, so it should be done. So I'm thinking, is it then worth it to try to set something up in San Francisco? But it's also a town I have no, where would I have it? Like, who even lives there? Like, it's quite far away from my original location, but I don't think that should play into it. Yeah. What's your gut feeling?
Yeah. My gut feeling is, I think it's a lot of work to just the logistics of it. Like, you need a place. They need to have enough room, like tables, outlets, internet, probably food if it's like a longer workshop, like drinks, all of that. Like, you have to organize everything.
But don't you think hotels organize that? Like, you can get that.
Yeah, sure, but
yeah.
I mean, I organized conferences in the past, and it's not cheap.
So maybe it wouldn't be worth it in terms of the price of the workshop. Like, I wouldn't have enough people to cover the cost of the room and the food and the everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, depends on how much you're going to charge, but I think like the last time I organized something, I think the cost was like for just one day, or just, well, one day. Basically, yeah, one day with lunch snacks was like 50 euros per person. And we had like,
and then it's the room on top of that.
The room usually, the room is usually for free, more or less.
Okay.
Compared to everything else.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that's the price for a workshop.
Now I'm also thinking, though, because there are some companies that I think have office space in San Francisco, and I could do like a
that was the other thing I was wondering. Like, maybe you can shortcut it a little bit by finding someone to host you.
Maybe Gatsby could host me. Ooh, I think they have an office in Berkeley.
Might be worth a try. The question then is, can you still charge for it? Because then it becomes like a weird dynamic, like of them providing you with the space and you still charging for it, and then it looks like it's their workshop that I don't know. It's I don't know. You have to try, I guess. Maybe ask around a little bit and see if something good pops up. But regardless, I think my biggest concern would be, like, let's say you figure out the room and the lunch and everything. My biggest concern would be, can you reach enough people and get enough signups for that workshop to make it worth it? Because once you've booked something, you kind of have to sell it out to make it work.
Yeah, I think I would need some like pre-signups before I book the room. The thing is, I don't know if it would have been worth it if I wasn't making the workshop anyway, because now I promised this workshop to Modern Front-End Lives, and I mean, they might not sell any seats to my workshop and then it would be canceled, but I'm going to try to market it as well so that actually people want to pay for that. And but what am I thinking? Yeah, and then like a lot of that will go into the course, making hopefully the course better. Because I think if I teach this live a couple of times, then that will inform kind of what I do when I do the videos, because it's easier to kind of, think or change things or answer a question when it's live. And I think that will make the video version better, because then I've actually tested it out on real people. So like I want to make money on it, but it doesn't have to be like a big money maker, because like that will feed into something that will hopefully then be more evergreen and hopefully make me more money down the road. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a think. I do know some people in San Francisco, so I could like ask. And I think I know somebody who's done this. But they might have a bigger following than me, so it's easier for them to like sell out a workshop next to a conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is, I've like selling, like if the conference sells the workshops, they have like, they can address the entire like attendees and make it part of their pitch. And for you to do this, you're narrowing down your addressable market quite a bit, because it's the overlap of people going to that particular conference and also following you on your mailing list or on Twitter or whatever. I'm not sure that, I mean, no offense, but I'm not sure
there are not that many people.
that's yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm working towards, though, because I do want to, be able to sell. Well, maybe after done all these conferences, maybe next year I have a big enough. But it's going up. I'm very close to 3,000 people now on Twitter, but they're not all in San Francisco. All my vanity metrics.
That's the other way to getting more. That's the other way to getting allowed more followers, right? Or to allowed to
follow more people.
Allowed to follow more people by getting more followers yourself, right?
That is true. But I think I need quite a lot more before I'm allowed to follow more than 5,000 people. But at least that's the outline and the workshop, and I'm really feeling good about how it's coming together. And I am feeling good of taking it slow and steady, instead of trying to like get this talk out, like sell the workshop and then make the workshop. Like I'm feeling like the little pieces are starting to fit together really well, and that it can become like a really good talk, workshop, course combo that kind of teaches people some really valuable skills when it comes to Gatsby. Because if you make these plugins, then you just get so much better understanding of the framework, and that will help you even if you decide not to make plugins and just use Gatsby. You can still use all of this knowledge to kind of uplift your usage of the framework, I guess. But so, and in addition to that, like I'm trying to find the right mix of our Gatsby products and services. So we have done the Gatsby plugin maintenance, which is kind of the idea that we really wanted to sell, but they're not like quick sells. We have to find the plugins, and we have to find the companies that are willing to pay for this. Hopefully that will go up when Gatsby is now working on version 5. And it seems like the tide is shifting a little bit, where people aren't just like, oh, we'll just skip Gatsby, like, because they're like Gatsby, and then I was like next, and now it's remix, and now kind of it seems like people are spreading out and like realizing there are use cases for all of these frameworks. So if more people are using it, then more people will need to maintain their plugins, but we'll see how long that takes. Anyway, and then I'll also done a Gatsby code review, which was so much fun. So I would love to do more of those, where somebody had some issues with their site that their developers couldn't work out. And I've gone through all their code and I'm doing that this week. I'm going to do a video call where I just go through all of my recommendations on what they should be focusing on, and also what kind of are things that should be fixed at some point in the future, so that when new versions come out and those kinds of things, they are not like stuck with just wrong usage. Like it's working, but it's just wrong usage, and it will be a problem when things are updated or fixed and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. And then I do have some talks that I've done. So I've done the the privacy and encryption in web application talk a couple of times, and I think it's a really good one. So I would like to just sell that as something I can do for people's internal like brown bag lunches and whatever it's called, like, you know, when they, instead of yeah, you eat your packed lunch and you watch some kind of internal talk. Like, I would love to do more of those because I really enjoy it, and I have some, and then I have that talk done, and when I have the plugin talk done, like, those could be good ones to sell for like internal usage. I'm trying to like find a good mix and like how to sell these things, but yeah, I'm open to feedback. And then my little projects. So prune your follows that you were kind of alluding to earlier, because I couldn't follow any more people on Twitter. I created a little tool for the Supabase hackathon. Did not win the hackathon, but there is 57 users of this app already after like 2 tweets. So that's kind of cool. But running into some really hard limitations from Twitter, because I used, the whole reason for Supabase was that they have Twitter logins. So I thought I was going to just like, you know, it's going to be easy to just like sign, and it is easy to implement, and you can log in with Twitter, but I don't get access to your access key. So I can't do anything on behalf of you when you're logged in, which was kind of the point. And it turns out that they have plans, but you know, it's like, it's an issue that's like a year old, and it seems like nobody's really looking into that. But then I remembered like a thing I thought about like a long time ago, and that is a package for Next that's called Next Auth that kind of gives you all kinds of the authentication flow for you, but you own the data, and for Twitter and Facebook and Google and stuff like that, all of these OAuth authentication, you don't even need a database, because you can just like, as long as you stay in a session, then the person is logged in, and then you can connect to a database if you want to. And I knew that Next, even though it's called Next Auth, can also be used with Gatsby. So I tried that out, and it worked really well. So I've already refactored it so that the printer follows use Next Auth. So now I just need to use the people's personal access tokens instead of my app token. And we then use that as a topic for the rum-fueled adventures around the Gatsby Islands that we do every Thursday. But it's also on the like not to do list, so it's only as like, it's like a prize to myself when I do the things that I don't want to do. But what I really like about this product is that when I've got the refactor done and like a couple of features, it's one of those products or projects that can actually just be done. Like, it doesn't need to do anything more. There are lots of like nice to haves, but like, it doesn't need new features as long as you can sort people and unfollow them. Like, that's all it has, or that it needs. So I need to find more little app IDs like that, because I realize I can't stop. Like, I thrive on this. Like, I love just coming up with little things and like making it, and like that is my hobby and my fun. And I need to be better at like making versions that are like that, where it's like a couple of feature and it's done, and I can just like have it there as like a fun project, as like marketing for me as a Gatsby person, more than it's having to become a product on its own, which kind of happened to POW, which is my last status update. You know, nothing happened there. It kind of grew big, and now it's small again, and I'm still hiding from it, but I keep having 50 subscribers. They won't go away. They keep paying.
Didn't you just like, here's a curveball question. A couple of episodes ago, you mentioned that there's no way to reset your password.
Yes.
What about like what do you need to do to cancel your subscription? Do you need to log in to cancel your subscription?
Yes, you do.
So maybe they all try to cancel, but they can't because they forgot their password.
The support email is right underneath there, so I do get some of those where they kind of want to cancel their
okay,
you know,
enough.
they want to just cancel. So I don't think that's the only. I think some people are actually using the product, which like freaks me out a little bit.
It was mostly a joke. Like, I didn't want to downplay.
But it's a serious. No, it's not. It's not even a joke, right? Because that is the support request, I guess. Like, either I can't log in, or I can't log in and cancel. It's like either they want to log in to do something, or they want to log in to cancel, and those are the two support requests I get. So, But yeah, no, so I need to like I think what I need is that like POW to become something like Prune Your Follows, where I focus on a feature set and that's what it does, and it's not going to be like the biggest, bestest menstrual tracker out there. Because then I can have these like little projects over a long time, but like have them as little contained side things instead of my livelihood. And I think that's better for me. But give me another 3 months and I've redecided. Suddenly Prune Your Follows is like thousands of users and just like, no, just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, it might very well happen. It's just like, it will be hard to monetize that one, I guess.
I could sell credits.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but like, will people pay for that? It feels like it's not like a hair on fire problem product.
I mean, it has been for me. I would have paid $5 to like unfollow some people. No, I don't think I'm gonna. I'm gonna look at that more as, so what's good, especially with Prune Your Follows, is like it really works as content for these other things that I'm doing.
Yeah, and
it's something that a lot of developers think is a fun product, so it kind of really works in that regards. And as I said, it's contained, and I even thought about like, in a way, selling it as like a DevRel project to a to a database company. So because now I need to find a database, because I'm not going to use Supabase when I don't need their authentication. I just need a straight up database. And there are some companies that would like to showcase how to use their database with like React and /Gatsby. So I thought also it could just be like, made by Queen Ray, sponsored by whatever database wants to have some content. I don't know. But then I'm getting sponsored, which is like, what's on my no list?
Do you need the database?
No, that's the other thing. I could do everything from the browser. The only thing is I don't know how it would be to sort through these 5,000 people in the browser. But it's probably not too, like, it should probably work. Because I need to save them to local or session storage or something. Because I can't keep, even if I have people's access tokens, I can't keep hitting the Twitter API. They have pretty low limits. Right. But there is a case for just using NextAuth and only have that in the session, and then saving everything in the session storage. And then if they log out, then delete whatever. But if not, like when the session is deleted, their data is deleted. The only thing is then every time you go to the app, you'll have to sit and like wait until I've like fetched 5,000 people from Twitter for you. Because
can you just use, isn't there, I'm not sure if it's that thing I'm thinking about, but isn't there indexeddb in every browser these days?
I did see something like that.
The way, I mean, I've never used it because I haven't had a use case, but it sounds like it's basically a mini SQL database in your browser that you can access from JavaScript, and it's bound to the domain. So, I mean, as long as people don't switch browsers and clear cache or whatever, you can just carry on storing their data locally and
just. But what if they're using the public library's computer? Do we want all that data in there? Then I need to remember, because they might not log out. They might, but they.
Yeah, but like if they don't,
but it's all public. Yeah, but it's all public data. Also, actually,
yeah, it's also public data. As long as you don't store the access key in there, should be fine, I guess.
Yeah, so I've gone down that route as well. But then it would, even though like that's my jam with privacy and everything, I wouldn't even know who's using the app. Like, how many people are there using the app? I would only see the page views, which is
but which might be good enough, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe do you see stuff like authenticated users for your Twitter application? I mean, they're surely tracking that. The question is, are you able to see that, like analytics for
how many people are using my? That would be interesting. Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, but that's a way to
'Cause
go too. But and I think that could be, because that's the thing that I find a little hard now with like DevRel being so big that it is. It's that all of the free goodness of the internet doesn't have a DevRel, and and like I can't take it on myself and like be the DevRel for every free thing because they don't pay, right? But on the other hand, that like it that does make me more excited. Like, you know, like a lot of the encryption stuff is in the browser already, you know, and you can save things in the browser. As you said, you might not even need a database, and you can, and with Nextdot, which is an open source project, or you can make it yourself, but you can like log in through Twitter without using Auth0 or Superbase Twitter or any of these things. It's just that these services, that those are the people making all the high quality courses and or tutorials, or at least everything that is free. And now that if I make this one course with Newline for them who are selling courses, like they could be interested in me then making like a, you know, how to make this app kind of course where everything is done in the browser, and like people will learn more about the core of the internet instead of all these services that are just like throwing money at their like DevRel efforts. So yeah, maybe that's a path. Maybe like I'll be the DevRel for the open internet.
Which is actually a good, like that's a good cause, I guess. We need more of those.
but yeah, we all also.
But it doesn't pay.
No. That's why I need my Gatsby, you know, projects and services to sell, because a lot of these things that we are talking about are really good things to do as like market, or like could fit into a marketing strategy for that. But there needs to be these products at the end of the line that sell enough to keep me in business. Yeah. But then over to the existential questions, like why the internet? Should we just like move back into the forest and just like skip the whole moving like bytes around and money around and blah blah blah. I don't know. I had a little bit of that the last couple of weeks as well. And when we weren't recording, it was like, why record? Like nobody would listen. Like, why are we doing this? I was a little bit in that kind of a mindset, but just gotta get up and do the work.
Yep, exactly. Well then, let's actually wrap up and get back to work then, right?
Yes. And see everyone around the interwebs.
Yep. See you. Bye.